Benigno Aquino refuses to apologize for Manila hostage tragedy. Lumang hung in court accused of defrauding investors. And the hospital authority names a new chairman.
Good evening. Philippine President Benigno Aquino has refused to apologize for that Manila hostage crisis 3 years ago that killed 8 people from Hong Kong. He did, however, agree to continue to address the matter. Aquino's comments came after he met with Chief Executive Len Cheng-ying on the sidelines of the APEC summit in Indonesia. Diane To has our top story.
Speaking to the press at the APEC summit in Bali today, the chief executive said his meeting with Benigno Aquino yesterday lasted about 40 minutes. Len Cheng-ying said Aquino made it clear that the matter had already been resolved.
I did not agree, and I believe, and I made a case to the Philippine side that this matter, unless it's resolved properly, will continue to stand in the way in the normal relationships between Hong Kong and the Philippines.
The meeting ended with Aquino agreeing to continue dialogue in an official capacity. Leung said he laid down 4 demands: an apology, compensation, penalty for those responsible, and a guarantee that the bloodshed in 2010 won't happen again. He stressed that he didn't want to overpromise any early resolution of the matter, but pledged to continue to get it done as soon as possible. Aquino, for his part, explained why he won't make an apology.
When we apologize, then it admits that we are at fault as a country, as a government, and as a people. And we pointed out that from our perspective, there was one lone gunman responsible for this tragedy.
Aquino cited the public apology made by the head of Hong Kong's Marine Department over last year's fatal Lama ferry boat crash.
Apologize to the community, even though he was not directly responsible. So that's your cultural practice, that's your system. But in our system, we cannot admit wrongdoing if it was not ours. But we do extend our sincerest condolences again.
Survivors of the tragedy, as well as family members of the deceased, spoke out against Aquino's stance. Lawmaker James To, who has been helping them, said the investigation ordered by the Philippines president and chaired by the country's Justice Chief, Leila de Lima, showed that the demand for an apology is justified.
In her report, there have been a lot of conclusion of the wrongdoings of various levels of government officials. And so it's only right that the Philippine president should apologize on behalf of their official. It's not on behalf of the wrongdoings of other people. It's their own staff.
In 2010, a disgruntled former Philippine policeman held a group of Hong Kong tourists and their tour guide hostage. 8 of them were killed in the tragedy in Manila. Diane To, TVB News.
On the issue of Hong Kong reporters who had their APEC press passes revoked for allegedly heckling the Philippine president, the chief executive expressed regret for not being able to get them back. Concerned about the incident, Len Cheng-ying said the government is looking into it. Here in Hong Kong, members of the Hong Kong Journalists Association and the International Federation of Journalists protested outside the Indonesian and Philippine consulates today. They demanded that Indonesian authorities and organizers of the APEC meeting take the journalists' names off their watch list, as well as offer an apology. They also expressed disappointment in the chief executive for failing to help his city's reporters.
Beijing will be the host of next year's APEC summit. The 21-member group wrapped up this year's session in Bali, pledging to implement responsible policies to help offset slow global economic growth. Alan Booknia has that story.
Asia-Pacific leaders posed for the traditional family photo during the second day of meetings. The annual gathering gives them the opportunity to thrash out policies and encourage trade and business cooperation. U.S. President Barack Obama was a no-show because of the government shutdown and looming debt default deadline in his country. He was replaced at the meeting by Secretary of State John Kerry. How the world leaders interact with one another during the sessions is closely observed by commentators. President Xi Jinping and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe reportedly shook hands and exchanged small talk yesterday. But Japanese officials said they did not discuss the territorial dispute over the Diaoyu Islands, known as the Senkakus in Japan. The leader of the host country wrapped things up, reiterating close collaboration among APEC countries and regions and announcing a new holistic approach to resources.
In view of the scarcity of our finite resources, we agreed to cooperate in enhancing regional food, energy, and water security. This effort is also aimed at responding to the challenge of population growth and the adverse impact of climate change.
The stage is now set for next year's APEC meeting in China. A top official of the Beijing municipal government, Zhao Huimin, said preparations are already underway. He also sought to reassure people that the city is working hard to tackle its pollution problems. Alan Bookney, TVB News.
To other news now, Lu Man-hung, a former ally of Chief Executive Len Cheng-ying, and 3 others appeared in Eastern Magistracy today, facing charges including conspiring to defraud and money laundering. Lu has been freed on bail, and the case has been adjourned until November 19th. Ronnie Samtani has more details.
Wang Quan, chairman of listed company Pearl Oriental Oil, and former vice chairman Lu Man-hung made their court appearance this morning. The 2 other defendants were also there. The 4 defendants face a total of 6 charges among them, including conspiracy to defraud over the acquisition of natural gas and oil fields in the U.S. and money laundering. No pleas were taken today. The prosecution requested the bail for Wang and Lu to be raised from $1 million to $5 million each, but Lu argued that he had not earned any income since he was arrested in January. In the end, the magistrate set Wang and Lu's bail at $3 million each, with the condition that it be paid by Thursday at the latest. The other 2 defendants were released on $400,000 bail. None of the defendants is allowed to leave Hong Kong. The case has been adjourned till November 19th pending further investigation, and the prosecution has not ruled out adding more charges against the defendants. The prosecution said the case has serious implications on Hong Kong's reputation as an international financial hub, so it will apply to have the case transferred to the High Court. Ronnie Samtani, TVB News.
The Hospital Authority has appointed a new chairman. John Leong is president of the Open University. As Diane To reports, one of his key tasks is to improve the quality of healthcare in the public sector.
John Leong, accompanied by Secretary for Food and Health Ko Weng-man, met the press today after his appointment. The orthopedic scientist said the committee set up in August to review the Hospital Authority's operations is very important in improving the city's healthcare system.
I think the most important thing is to get to the bottom of problems, and the fact that the Secretary for Health and Food and Health has set up this investigative committee to look into this, and this is already started. And I think that committee will be in the best position to find out which are the shortcomings of the system, and we'll try to deal with this as soon as possible.
He raised 3 major areas that need improvement, which include upgrading the quality of doctors and medical services to an international standard and giving doctors opportunities to do clinical research. The health chief expressed confidence in Leong's leadership.
Professor Leong's vast experience in the healthcare sector and public services, as well as thorough understanding of the Hospital Authority's operation, made him eminently suitable for such an appointment.
The Patients' Rights Association said it hopes the new chairman can fight for more resources for specialized medical services. Spokesperson Tim Pang said a more stable and long-term source of funding is needed for these services because right now it's on a yearly basis. Leong will assume his new position on December 1st, taking over from current chairman Anthony Wu. Diane To, TVB News.
Disastrous consequences will come to the United States and South Korea. That was the strong warning voiced by North Korea after spotting a U.S. aircraft carrier and other ships arriving at a South Korean port. Pyongyang has put its military on high alert as a result and says it is ready to strike.
This is the latest outburst from Pyongyang. The North Korean commentator warned that all units of the North Korean military had received an emergency order to re-examine their war operation plans and be ready to launch at a moment's notice. But the United States, which has over 28,000 troops stationed in the South, insists its aircraft carrier, the USS George Washington, was leading a group of ships to visit South Korea in a routine port call. South Korea confirmed that as such and said any criticism by North Korea was wrong. In March, the North warned that because it was no longer bound by the Korean War armistice, it would use nuclear weapons to attack both the U.S. and South Korea. This is why the North Korean spokesperson further announced the U.S. will be wholly accountable for the unexpected horrible disaster to be met by its imperialist aggression forces' nuclear strike weapons. While North Korea has enough material to build about 10 nuclear bombs, intelligence analysts believe it has yet to master the technology to deploy such weapons. But to ensure it is prepared to respond to a military strike, South Korea confirmed it too is ready for any possible provocations. A South Korean Defense Ministry spokesperson confirmed they are carefully monitoring North Korea's actions. While the North's military is considered unfit to fight an extended battle, the South remains on full alert. It remembers the North staged surprise attacks against the South back in 2010 that killed 50 people.
Former Greek defense minister has been jailed for 20 years after being found guilty of money laundering. It's the most prominent corruption case ever in the financially stricken country. 73-year-old Akis Sokatzopoulos was a member of the socialist PASOK party that dominated Greek politics for decades. He was accused of accepting bribes in exchange for contracts between 1997 and 2001. The contracts were for the purchase of German submarines and Russian anti-aircraft missiles. His co-defendants included his wife, ex-wife, and daughter. They also received lengthy jail terms.
And still ahead in our newscast, Carrie Lam plays down concerns about kindergarten places. God particle scientists win Nobel Physics Award. And a walk-off home run keeps the Rays alive in the playoffs.